Hari Om. I am continuing. This is my part number 34 in English. Comparative religions, Hinduism versus Christianity. Here I would like to bring about some historical facts about how these European missionaries promulgated or carried out with their belief and their faith. What Jesus said is there in the Bible, but these missionaries, in order to propagate their faith and their control on others and to impose their will on others, on other faiths, they carried out a lot of propaganda. But we should also know what is their history also, and whether to analyze whether what they say is true or not. See, firstly, what Voltaire, the famous French writer, said in, you can go and check in Voltaire Wikipedia. I will show you the exact page if you want from my mobile. I've opened that page in my Wikipedia and you can see that closely. You can read this top word, which is in French, La Notre, sans contredit la plus ridicule, la plus absurde et la plus sanguinaire qui a jamais infecté le monde. So those who know French, the translation is also given for those who do not know. Ours, that is a Christian religion, is assuredly the most ridiculous, the most absurd and the most bloody religion which has ever infected this world. Your Majesty will do the human race an eternal service by extirpating this famous superstition. I do not say among the rabble means the priest, who are not worthy of being enlightened and who are apt for every yoke. I say among honest people, among men who think, among those who wish to think. My one regret in dying is that I cannot aid you in this noble enterprise, the finest and most respectable which the human mind can point out. See, he writes his letter in a letter to King Frederick II, King of Prussia, dated 5th January 1767. He wrote about Christianity. That's what it says in the Wikipedia. So, and also he continues in the next one, La Bible enfant explique. He expressed the following attitude to lay reading of the Bible. It is characteristic of fanatics who read the holy scriptures to tell themselves, God killed, so I must kill. Abraham lied, Jacob deceived, Rachel stole, so I must steal, deceive, lie. But wretch, you are neither Rachel, nor Jacob, nor Abraham, nor God. You are just a mad fool, he says. And the popes who forbade the reading of the Bible were extremely wise. The popes who forbade the reading of the Bible were extremely wise, he says. See how much of disliking he had for Christianity. Christianity is actually the system developed by the missionaries, not by Jesus. There we should understand, Jesus was a prophet, son of God, a noble person required at those times to control the unruly tribes of Israel. Is it not? We're talking of 2000 years back, every region had their Adivashis or their Chandalas or whatever you say, even India had. But this is the opinion of Voltaire, and he was also not of good opinion with Islamic books also. But then he says about Hinduism in the below paragraphs, if you can just go down, and he says, the Vedas was the most precious gift for which the West had ever been indebted to India. I repeat, the Vedas was the most precious gift for which the West had ever been indebted to India. And mind you, Voltaire, the famous French writer, who died only in 1787, I think, was a vegetarian. He practiced the thought of reasoning which was found in the Vedas, in the Upanishads. See, I'm quoting from the Wikipedia, from the net only. And then he says, Hindus were peaceful and innocent people, incapable of hurting others or of defending themselves. They were so ahimsa oriented. That's what Paul K. Williams in his book also says. Christianity was the most Himsa religion, where most fightings and killings took place over a period of time. And the Indic civilization, the Hinduism, is the most peaceful. And Jainism says the famous NASA scientist Lawrence Krauss is the most non-violent religion I have ever come across. Quote. He says that. Now, Voltaire was a very famous French writer in the 18th centuries. Everybody knows. There is nothing, no introduction is required. And after Voltaire, there are lots of people who have written about that. Even Richard Dawkins, the latest professor of chair of Oxford University, is an atheist, but he says, after reading Bible, you can come to the conclusion how Joshua killed the Canaanites, the tribes, because God ordered him to kill everything that breathes. Child, women, men, whatever that breathes, you kill of the Canaan region. So probably reading all these things, they came to the conclusion, several authors, several reasonable thinking authors. Catherine Nixey was another famous writer who wrote in the book, Christianity, the Christian destruction of the classical world. How the Christians destroyed, and it was published by New York Times in 2018, I think. In Byzantine Empire, see, there were a lot of pagan god structures before Christianity. Lovely structures. The Apollo god and all showing beautifully. It's an architectural masterpiece. I mean, we have to admire old masterpiece. They destroyed. Now, why they destroy? Why the Christian missionaries or the followers of Christianity want to destroy when they call that Jesus preached love? See, these destructions are also found in India when the famous Kapalishwara temple in Chennai were destroyed, which was by the Portuguese. When they occupied India around 1516 or something, the Portuguese were ruling the Mylapore area as per historical records. And they installed the Santom Church. That need not have been done. Santom Church could have been built somewhere else. Why to destroy? Because there are lots of archaeological evidences. As I go through the internet and I saw the photographs of the pillars having the Hindu carvings. These destructions should not take place. And what happened in 1755 to the same Portuguese in the capital of Lisbon, capital of Portugal, and the Iberian Peninsula, the Spanish and all? I have already told you in 1755, Neil deGrasse Tyson himself quotes. You can go to the YouTube and say, do you believe in God? Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's an African American, is a current, one of the very well-known NASA scientists. He says, in 1755, on an All Saints Day, a very big earthquake attacked Lisbon, Portugal, and Iberian Peninsula. Iberia is all these regions combined like Spain and all. And he says more than 80,000 people died inside the churches. See, Francis Xavier, when he came to India around 1552, he lived only for 10 years in India. He was born in, he lived for 46 years. He died of a disease. He preached of Hindu infidels. He says we Hindus were infidels. And he wanted to convert these infidels. See, all these things are ahimsa approach. If you want to preach goodness of Jesus, you can preach separately. Why to criticize the other gods? Every god, if you come to Hinduism, I said, come with an argument or with a lecture or with a debate with me or with any of the scholars, and I will put you forward all these Bible verses and I will put you Vedic verses also. What does Vedas say? Satyan na pramadidavyam, dharman na pramadidavyam. Satyan na pramadidavyam, to be ignored. Dharman na pramadidavyam, kushalan na pramadidavyam, swadhyaya pravachanabhyam. Swadhyayam, learning your Atma. And na pramadidavyam, swadhyayam also. And the pravachanam is important. Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam. Abhyam is a duality, refers to the of these two. Na pramadidhavyam matru devo bhava, pitru devo bhava, acharya devo bhava, atiti devo bhava. So acharya we also worship any acharya, whether Jesus is an acharya or God is a different thing, but we have to respect Jesus. Not in the European way of putting him on a cross and showing him that he is dying. That is not the proper way of these shown to be shown. Respect has to be shown to all these acharyas or Son of God or whatever it is. You see, I am more unhappy with these Christian missionaries, and they have indoctrinated our Indian missionaries like this also. One Tamil Padriyar says, I am very happy that in a temple in Karnataka, the Amman idol was removed and the cross was established and people are worshipping. So that is not the right way. Amman is energy. Everything is energy. There cannot be superior to energy. I am not saying what did Einstein say. I have already quoted. Everything is energy. There is nothing more to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want. Whatever reality you want. You want a visa, you want a job, you want a higher education, you want a good job, government job. Match the reality of the frequency. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help achieving the reality. There is no other way. This is physics, not philosophy. Einstein talks about energy. Energy is supreme. One Padriyar says, Jesus is the only true God and is also above Shakti. Shakti is energy. Jesus cannot be above Shakti. Without energy, we cannot live. Nobody can live. There is nothing called true God. God means truth. Even that they don't understand. What did our Ramana Maharshi say when Paul Brenton came and said, sir, should I convert to Hinduism? Ramana Mani laughed at him, shrugged at him. Atma has no religion. It is within you. It is your eye. You worship, you be a good person. You remove all your negativity, evil thoughts. You will be pristine. That is what later on in Bible it says the kingdom of heaven is within you. They all came to India around 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th centuries, learned the Vedas and it incorporated. Bible was changed so many times. Finally, the 15th century, the King James version of Bible was accepted. See, there is nothing. Every book may have plus and minus. But don't, you Christian missionaries, don't impose your will upon Hinduism saying we are worshipping Satans, we are like that, we are like this. Missionaries in Europe, Christianity in Europe found lots of ahimsa, their way. I will quote from you from with records. There was a famous French war of religion which took place from 1562 to 1592. Before that, I have told you, 325 AD, Constantine called the council in Nicaea, Nicaea, all the bishops, and after that, 410, Alarici, the barbarian looted Rome. Lots of internecine wars took place in Europe between Catholics and the Protestants from the 6th century and onwards. The Vikings were pagans. They invaded England. Then they fought in Wessex. Then the English king slowly converted all these Vikings into Christianity, and finally Vikings as a race, as a identity group lost. There were no Vikings. Now in 1562 to 1598, in these 36 years, there were massive wars between French Catholics and Protestants. They were killing because Louis XIV really waged a war against Protestants under the advice of the church from Rome. Many were converted, many were killed. Not only that, then the head of that Frenchman converted into Catholicism, or they call Catholics. And then there was another day of massacre when more than 5,000 to 30,000 soldiers, men, women, priests were all killed. That was called the Saint Bartholomew Day of Massacre. Bartholomew was one of the apostles of Christ, it appears. And in that day, massacre took place. So where was their God? If I am going to ask to protect them, they could not be protected. So we should not tell something untrue facts to convert Hindus to Christianity or other religions. Then there was a Spanish Civil War between 1936 to 1939. When, as per the information from the web, they say 13 bishops, 7,000 clergy, monks, women were all massacred in the first few months. More than 20,000 churches were destroyed. And what happened in Europe, right after 15th century, from 13th century, they were struck with something called as a black plague. I went to that a place near Rome called Sian, where there was a church called Our Lady, Virgin Mary Church was there. That church was the best church to remove sickness. That's what they say. But after, when the black plague struck, 2/3 of people who died in Europe from that Sian, where the church was situated. So from that, the decline started, because people started resisting believing the church, the Rome, what they were telling. The church was telling something, and what was happening was something. Many people, I have told you earlier, even in COVID, in 2020, March 19, Traversar Church, Italy, 10 bishops died as they were blessing of COVID. Francis Xavier died of a dreadful disease in 1552 in China, and his body was brought back and interred in Goa. See, where was a God to save? See, every in humanity, whether you are in Hinduism or Christianity or Islam or Jainism, whatever it is, that's what the Vedas says. You are responsible for your own actions. You have to pay for it. Nobody can come and save you for how long? For 20,000 years? That sounds immature, is it not? Save your body, but you have to save your soul, so that you don't have the punarjanma and punarmarana. You don't have to come to the cycle of birth and rebirth. You merge with the Almighty. See, when these things takes place, that is what there started the decline. When I went to a lot of villages also, most of the churches are converted into exhibition halls. And I told you earlier, 60% of the person don't get baptized, 30% baptized don't come to church, only 10% come to church. Churches are all empty there. Mostly I went to churches during mass times, Sunday also. So that is not, my point is not that. My point is on these Christian, especially previously European missionaries, who indoctrinated wrong ideas, and they were not tolerant to the right ideas. How Bruce was burnt on stake when he said the earth is not the center of the solar system. He said sun is the solar. He was burnt to death by the church, and now the church regrets. As I told you, Kapalishwar temple was unnecessarily destroyed. It need not be by the Portuguese. They could have built a separate church somewhere out, somewhere nearby, no problem. I had been a temple in Kerala near Guruvayur called Palayur, where a Shiva temple has been converted into a church. And very big there is there, like when 6 Brahmins were doing their Sandhya Vandana, Aposhta, Mayobhavaha, Tana, Urje, Tadatana, they were dipping their hand in the water and Prokshanam up. So it seems St. Thomas came and stopped the water in the air, so all became Christianity. That things are narrated in the church. The pond is there. The well where these Nambudiri Brahmins were taking water is there. Most of the walls of the temple, you can still find Shiva temple carvings. I saw that. You see, the Spanish Inquisition is the worst. They are so ahimsa. They went to South America, slaughtered the Red Indians, Mayans, the Aztecs, the Incas, converted them, to most of them, to Christianity, telling our God is the true God. See, they were all worshipping in their own tribal way, in their own culture, their God. If you see Mysore Dasara procession, the festival, how grandly it was conducted with such a rich culture. You see, it is uploaded in the YouTube now. The latest 2022 happened 2-3 days back, October 6th or 7th, I think. See the rich culture. You should enjoy God. That's what Hinduism says. You should not criticize when I worship a servant. Even in servant, the God is there. It's friendly. A dog, the God will be there. Even inside the devil, the God is there. So why do you want to criticize and saying infidels without knowing how we celebrate? We enjoy. You Christian missionaries are jealous. You don't have any method to enjoy your God. Is it what? Go to Kerala, see the Panjavadiyam, see the Purams, how the elephants are caparisoned. And the night with the fire, the Teepandams, they say, all glowing with Chettivadiyams, Panjari Melams, Panchavadiyam, Chenda, Tayambagam. What a beauty, what the rich culture. We will lose the culture. See, God does not say, you cannot worship me like this, you have to go only there, put a cross and hang my body and then you have to worship. Where does God say like that? Even in Bible, Jesus does not say that you have to worship my body on a cross. Where does he say? So everything is the manufactured product of these European church missionaries to indoctrinate their faith upon you either willfully or forcefully. These tricks need not be there. I have seen Benny Hinn, I am just openly telling his name, bringing a lot of sick persons and getting healed on the stage. Is it true? If it is true, then I will become myself a Christian. I will bring a lot of 10 people terminally ill, close to death, given away by the modern allopathic medicines, by their hospitals, and let him bring back to life. Jesus is the only true God because he resurrected. It's true God for you. There cannot be a true God, a false God. True prophet, false prophet will be there. God is truth. But if he has resurrected, why did Caiaphas or why did the others? I've gone through these YouTubes and comments very in depth, profoundly. Why do Caiaphas or why did Pontius Pilate, why did not Tiberius, Caligula, were all there at those times, convert to Christianity? Because this is the biggest miracle if you see a man rising from the dead. There cannot be a greater miracle. So even in Christianity, they followed only ahimsa in missionaries. How they destroyed all these things are very nicely available in various books with authentic evidence. If you go to Voltaire, Wikipedia, what all where his references is there, they say. And Einstein, I have already told you, we did not believe much in Bible. Most of the things said in Bible are not true. Einstein says. You see, refer Einstein. Now you can argue he was not a true scientist. Well, argument can go on. If you say infinite and I will say infinite plus 1, then the argument never ends. Infinite is infinite. God is God. So, these facts and figures are available. In fact, in 2007, the church beatified some 498 people who were killed by the invading forces. In fact, when the war took place, the British invaded both Portugal and Spain also in the famous French war and all. There was French war of religion was there. And converted, and that's why some became Protestants, some became Christians. And I have already told you about the Holy War, Crusaders wars between Muslims and Christians, the Moors and the Christians, 1036 to 1350 AD. There were many wars and they wanted to capture Jerusalem. One will go in the name of Allah and one in the name of the Lord Christ. They were fighting and finally one will win, one will not win in this 300. Finally, Salaluddin took some place in Jerusalem and he entered into a treaty with King Richard of England because he brought his forces from England to attack. Actually, Aladdin captured Salaluddin captured the entire Jerusalem, most of the Jerusalem parts. See, these were all there. They fought a bloody war. Many people were killed. Many churches were burned. In the 3 world wars, how many churches were destroyed? Even right now, Ukraine war. Why should you have war? Why don't you follow the Hindu concept of ahimsa? Why did not the Pope go and advise him to stop the war and build the churches, build hospitals and enter into a peace negotiation so that you see that Ukraine does not enter into NATO? Something like that can be prevented instead of aggressively attacking and killing so many people. How many churches has been burned? Where is their God? Where is your God who preaches love? That is what the concept of ahimsa is there from the Vedic times. Mahabharata itself, they say ahimsa is param dhanam. Ahimsa is greater than dhanam. Ahimsa eva, that is the best truth. And ahimsa was practiced by our Mahatma Gandhi. That's what Einstein said about Mahatma Gandhi. Generations to come, it is scarce to believe that such a man can walk on this face of this earth in human flesh and bones. He never spoke of Jesus Christ. Einstein was a Jew. So the method of ahimsa followed by the Europeans and their counterparts, Europeans settled later on America, should be abhorred. Method of himsa. The method of ahimsa has to be followed. Like what we follow in India. Ahimsa, ahimsa, ahimsa. Non-violence as our Mahatma Gandhi taught us. Be it be any religion. As I told you, every religion worships God only. These type of impositions by force or by tricks, falsities, that's what beautifully she writes, Catherine Nixie, destroying all the pantheon temples are gone, pagan god. What a beautiful architecture. Let them be there. You worship nature, you worship Apollo god. What is wrong? It is also right. You have to have, you are staying in this universe as Einstein says, and you are governed by the laws of universe. You are in this body with 5 senses through the laws of universe. And universe has suns, moons, wind, fire. You have your dog to protect you also, or to enjoy with it. You have to feed it well, you have to respect it well. Than beating it with a stick, it will not obey you later on. So the practical and the main question that arises here is whether these European missionaries follow ahimsa. The answer is no. Nowadays, after they learn the Indian Vedic culture and Mahatma Gandhi, after they learn everything about ahimsa, non-violence, they are mowed down, they have come down in their aggression. And our Indian Padriyas should not take up these aggressions in the name of Bible or the name of their propagating their faith. It will backfire on you. Everyone should love everyone. Universal religion, said Swami Vivekananda. Not everybody knows there is nothing supernatural in Christianity. If there is supernatural in Christianity, 1755 earthquake need not have happened on All Saints' Day, or on Easter's Day, 367 worshippers in a church on an Easter day were massacred by a terrorist. Where's their God, if I ask you? God is there for you to guide to live following eightfold noble path of Buddha. What is said in the Vedas? What are all the good things said in the Bible? What are all the good things said in, only the good things said in Iran without violence? Without violence. Accept all those good things. Everything, every religion can have plus and minus. I am not saying no that Hinduism is the best. Hinduism doesn't offer any violence, or I am not asking you to convert to Hinduism. But if you read the Upanishads, you will find the superiority of the Hindu way of worship, the scripts, the Shastras. There is definitely superior. So much to learn than reading one books. But the finality is you have to love God, and you are loving this world more than God in any religion. Nobody wants to go to God immediately today. Nobody wants to die immediately today. People sin simply for their political reasons, simply to accept their way of thinking. I killed that man because he did wrong. He wanted to kill him, so he simply puts the blame on God. That's all, on the religion. Is absolutely wrong. Ahimsa is the only way. Love of others, respecting others, self-respect also you can have, but respecting others is the most thing. And respect, learn to worship all the products of nature, all life in the nature. So, it is not without any himsa in European missionaries. Only love we practice. We came to India to preach the message of peace and love. There is no peace I could find in Bible also. No, there was no peace, because Jesus himself says in Matthew or something they quote. Whether Jesus told really or not, I do not know. But Matthew writes, do you think I have come here to establish peace? No, division. Father against son, son against brothers, and all verses are there I have quoted earlier. So what is required is, whether the gospel writers, if you take the good things out of them, and have the love and affection, respect for every religion, live with every religion in happiness, respecting each religion, and please do not criticize other religion. Especially I am addressing to the Indian priests. Thank you. Dirghayushman bhava, stribhyah dirgha sumangali bhava, kanya stribhyah shigrameva vivaga praptirasthu, sarve janah sugino bhavantu, sarvam mangalani bhavantu. Ellorum inbutru irukka ninaipade allamal verondrum ariyen parabarame. Hari Om.